Hey guys, I want to welcome all the new subscribers to the channel, and there's been a lot of them. I recently had a Facebook post that actually went viral when I revealed my plans to make this van a Kmart van. I had a Photoshop, which I'll show you in just a moment, of what I planned on doing. If all goes to plan, in less than a week, we'll have this van lettered with Kmart. The goal is to make this thing look like the real thing, like a real old Kmart van with patina style lettering, aged and faded, using the correct fonts and colors. So I've got a few printouts for the guy that's going to be doing the lettering. For the back door, I thought about using this old square with K and the mark below it. And I also thought about going with the words Auto Center on it, but I haven't photoshopped that into place. All said and done, it should look something like this, with this cool striping. I've got the original Kmart logo. I know the colors are a little bit off, but the K has a little black stripe around the K, and that follows in the little pattern of the stripe. I wanted to put the original address and phone number of the real Kmart that was here in town with the old school 5-digit phone number. I looked up this information in an old phone book at the library here in town. To get the colors right, I've got a couple of pieces of old Kmart memorabilia. This color here, this bluish greenish color, the painter should be able to get off this can. And of course the red is here. We've also got this oil filter that has the original colors. Should be easy to match. And when all said and done, I'll have a real interesting, unique, throwback, nostalgic van design. Probably my next video will actually reveal the new paint job. But until then, we've got some issues with drivability. The engine cover on the van is getting hot because it's so close to the header, and we've got to take care of a few rusty spots that may be in position where the lettering or striping will go. 1, 2 or 3 right here, one here, and a few on the other side. So enjoy that until then. Stop whatever you're doing. It's chunky time. We have some mail. Infrared thermometer. Been a long time coming. I've needed this. I've already tested it, put batteries in it. It works. We're going to need that for today's project. Amazon box. A roll of 2-inch titanium exhaust heat shield with zip ties. Feels like some pretty good stuff. I just hope I can wrap it tightly enough. Last but not least, insulation. This is supposed to be some really good stuff. This is for the doghouse interior. This is the biggest quantity that they would sell in one auction. I could buy more, but I wanted to check this one out. This is going to be more than enough to do the doghouse. I'll put the link to the auction or eBay item in the description of the video. It appears to be stick-on. You peel this plastic backing off. I'm working in a very close tolerance, so I hope it's not too thick. I think we're going to be okay. The insulation inside the doghouse is now 56 years old, And I think that the technology has gotten a lot better with these heat insulation products. I'm especially not pleased with how the insulation stops there when it seems to me that the most heat is coming right in this area right here where there's no insulation, as you can tell. But we're gonna rip this stuff off, and I'm gonna try to retain some of these hold down washers and nuts and things. Paint the interior of this and install the new stuff. But before I get started, I want to get a baseline reading of the temperature with the old stuff and no header wrap, and take and compare that to when I finish. And I'm hoping it's a drastic difference. All right, it's kind of cold today, but that's going to work against us getting a really high temperature reading. Well, let's see how hot I can get it to go. After about a minute, it's only up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so. There's a Cars and Coffee next week, and even though it's February, if the weather's good enough and it's not raining, I might just take this thing. It's a lot further than anywhere I've ever been in it. In fact, I've only been about 55 miles in this van so far. That's the exhaust manifold. The other day at a friend's house, it was over 400, so we're still not up to a good temperature yet. This is just barely warm right now. That radiator is 185 degrees, and I can put my hand on it and keep it there for several seconds. That doghouse was so hot the other day, I could not hold it for longer than a second without burning myself. Now, how I could duplicate that, I don't know, other than getting on a hot day and just driving like crazy or something like that. I don't know. But it's raining right now. I'm not getting out in this. So I have this theory that maybe when you're driving down the road and the van is in drive and you're pressing the gas and you're going forward, the engine may torque a little bit to the right. I don't know if it torques to the left or to the right when you're in drive going forward. I'll have to find out. But it's possible that that little bit of engine tilt causes that flange to actually be touching the doghouse, because it's like that close. And that is what caused the extreme heat on the doghouse. But I'm not going to try to duplicate that today. I'm going to try another day. So I gave up on trying to get a reading of about 180 degrees. I'm approximating that this was at 185 degrees because it felt like a radiator when I put my fingers on it. But I've gone ahead and stripped out the old insulation, and I'm gonna start tracing some of this stuff onto some new stuff. This part I'm going to trace, but these other parts I'm going to make them a little bit oversized because I want them to hug up all the way up to the edge, especially in this area where it was bare and it's closest to the header. So it was the hottest spot and had no insulation, but I'm going to change that. So after cutting these little templates out, 3 pieces, and some of them are oversized cut, I've got this to deal with, all this old adhesive, and the old insulation is sticking to it. So I'm thinking a wire wheel to that, and then painting it with a kind of a gloss black, because I feel like gloss black will allow for the adhesion of this peel and stick insulation better. And I'm thinking about using a high temp paint when I do it. So I'll get started cleaning this up. It's going to be a very messy process. A lot of junk flying around in the air, dust. Here we go. I just scrubbed the inside of this thing with Purple Power and a 3M sponge on the coarse side, and I hope it's clean enough because tomorrow I'm going to paint the inside of this. I marked a place with a Sharpie here to give just a little more clearance. I'm going to hit that with a cutoff wheel. Alright, with a cutoff wheel I was able to make a little bit of extra clearance, but not so much that the seal for the doghouse won't be able to sit right in this lane right here. So it's a just right amount of trimming. Might seem stupid, but I took a little bit off of that flange there, shaved it back, and I'm going to cut this extra length of this bolt off as well. It's just less stuff super close to the doghouse to heat up and get it hot. Now for the wrap. I think I'll start right up here and just start wrapping. Once I get a few rounds, I'll use one of these steel ties, zip tie, and then keep going all the way down until I need to use another tie. Here's the wrap. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I put a wrap, tie wrap or whatever here, and then I went around that tie wrap, around this bolt here, this wrap now, with another zip tie, and I pinched it so that this area right here won't come unraveled. And then down at the very bottom there's another one. I'm about to cut this excess off, and I am thrilled with how that's turned out now. I'm probably going to do this other one to make it match. Put a little bit of high temp paint on this. The rest of it I'm going to use this gloss black. Alright, here it is. Before the paint actually got all the way dry, I went ahead and put this sheet of heat insulation on. The back of the foil has some adhesive on it, but double that up with the paint and it should stick very well. And then of course I used the the factory retainers here, the big washers. Also, I went ahead and put the heat wrap on the other exhaust manifold and pipe. I didn't want one manifold to run at a different temperature than the other. So I got that done. So at this point now we could go ahead and try and run the experiment to see what the temperature of the doghouse is now. Got a little bit of bad news. This thing's burning up. Let's see. Just burned it up. It's so thick. It's 10 millimeter thick stuff. And it's right up against it, obviously. You can even see some of the foam is burned onto the header wrap there. After driving about 20 minutes, right there, it's almost too hot to touch. So as you saw in that last video, this was squirting gas, has a pinhole in it. Kind of upsetting on a brand new part, but that's how it is these days. I could go on and on about it, but I was lucky enough to have kept this old original. I'm going to take this off, dunk it down in some gas and force it down in some gas and see if it will rise to the top tomorrow, which would prove that it's good. And I'm hoping it's the same size. Let's find out. All right, I cleaned that up just enough to dunk it in some gas. I put a vice grip on it very loosely, just enough to give it some weight so it would stay down in the gas. I'll come back later, see what happens. All right, we're a good time later here. Perfect. Just curious here.
I just want a picture of that. Wait and see if you can. It's double rainbow.
Mm-hmm. Out here getting this van ready for some striping and lettering, and I noticed this area here needed some big attention. You can't take to these pits with just a grinder. You really gotta sandblast those pits. This is from Harbor Freight. It's working pretty well so far. All right, let's get a look at what this result is. A little bit of dark metal, but most of it cleaned right up. I like the way this looks as opposed to this, but I bared down on it as much as I could, hoping to get through to the silver, but it never would. I'm going to follow up on this with some epoxy paint. Another spot there and there. I'll probably, I need to hit it with some fiberglass filler on those pinholes. Spot there. Around back, there's another. And what I used is the finer grit that you can get at Tractor Supply. If I had used the rougher grit, I might could have come through this a little better. I think it's clean enough that with some epoxy paint, it'll be several years before it'll pop back out. Inevitably it will, but this is a patina van anyway, so. Trying to get rid of some of these pits before the striping. And so I rubbed a little bit of this fiberglass on. Went to the paint shop and I got some flat paint that matches. They used the little machine to match it, and it came up Wimbledon white, and they just put flattening agent in it. So once I sand that, I'm just going to kind of airbrush that stuff on. At some point I'm also going to paint the rocker panels and a few other touch-up spots, but those are not in an area where a stripe or a lettering will be, so I'm just going to do that later. Sanded those spots down. They don't need to be perfect. Again, I'm not going for perfection here, just trying to fill in where it was a big nasty brown rusty spot. The fan is going to be patinaed. The lettering will be patinaed and old looking, aged, faded looking, to make it just look believable, you know. Okay, this is after just a very, very light first coat. I'm using the gun kind of like airbrush, just barely pulling the trigger. A little bit better, huh? Preserve it a little bit at least. Keep the patina right. I'll get to some of these other spots later. But I wanted to be ready when the guy called and said bring it for the striping and lettering.